The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. Well, back in the 1930s, President Roosevelt in America began what were called the fireside chats, and he would talk to the nation through the Depression. In World War II, Churchill did it very often in this country. Now, in the midst of this political crisis, Mrs. May decided to have a fireside chat with the nation from the comfortable sofa in Chequers, and this is what she said.
Over the last few days, people have been asking me what on earth's happening with Brexit.
Quite.
And I can understand that, because after all, it's nearly 3 years since people voted
that's right,
in the
Teresa.
referendum for the UK to leave the European Union. Well, where we're at is that the government negotiated a deal with the EU,
Treaty.
and my preference was for that deal
Treaty.
to be passed by Parliament, and we could leave with the EU on that basis. But Parliament's now rejected that deal three
Treaty.
times, and right now, as things stand, I can't see them accepting it. But at the same time, Parliament has also said that they don't want us to leave without a deal, with no deal. Indeed, this very week, Parliament's been legislating to block no deal. So the choice that lies ahead of us is either leaving the European Union with a deal or not leaving at all.
You what? I'm sorry. Can we hear that last sentence again, please?
The choice that lies ahead of us is either leaving the European Union with a deal or not leaving at all.
Goodness me. So she's saying either accept my treaty. Oh, and by the way, I'm negotiating with Labour. We may come to an agreement. And what we're going to have, we've already agreed dynamic alignment on workers' protections. That means all employment law to be decided in Brussels. Alignment on standards for goods. And discussions ongoing about a customs union or the confirmatory vote. So actually, what she's doing with Mr. Corbyn's team isn't just getting us set up to remain permanently part of the customs union, but actually to be pretty much fully part of the single market as well. It wouldn't resemble Brexit in any way at all. But she's now saying, unless there's agreement on this, there'll be no Brexit at all. Well, how does no Brexit at all happen? Well, because if we extend, you see, an extension says we're leaving the European Union at a later date. She's suggesting no Brexit at all. Is she saying that she actually could revoke Article 50? What would the circumstances be? So let's think about this. Tonight, there are continuing technical meetings going on between the government and the Labour Party. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister flies off to meet the boss. The boss, of course, being in Berlin, Angela Merkel, because they really run the show. Later on that evening, she'll go and meet Macron. And then on Wednesday night, at 5 p.m. UK time, the summit will begin in Brussels. What if the terms of extension were so impossible politically to swallow that she was faced with a choice? No deal? Well, we could have left with no deal on the 29th of March. But now, of course, Parliament has put in law that we can't leave with no deal. I mean, is she actually now threatening her own party, back my treaty, or I could revoke Article 50? Is she capable of doing that? I wonder. Well, I didn't think she was capable of breaking every single red line. But she has, hasn't she? One by one by one, they've all disappeared. She's barely kept a single promise since she became Prime Minister. Is she capable? Could she revoke Article 50? And if you think it's possible she could do anything, call 0345 6060 973. Or maybe you think, no, politically it's impossible. There wouldn't be a Conservative Party. Text to 84850. Or maybe like me, as I've been saying here since last August, you think actually, however bad, however long, extension is now the only possible way forward, in which case tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC, and of course Facebookers, you can comment too. Did she mean it? Let's listen to it one more time.
The choice that lies ahead of us is either leaving the European Union with a deal or not leaving at all.
So not extension, but you either leave it with her treaty that she's now cooking up and making worse with Labour from a Brexiteer's point of view, or there's no Brexit at all. I don't know. I find it difficult to believe she could even contemplate it. But then I found all the other surrenders quite difficult to believe, because she stands up, doesn't she, with such sincerity, saying what she will do, and then actually the opposite happens. John is a new caller from Milton Keynes. Good evening, John.
Hello, Nigel. Yes. I'm a little bit very annoyed.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed a bit with you
Oh, yeah.
because you just sort of, all these people I hear every night ringing in,
Yeah.
and they're all complaining, and nobody wants to do anything about it. But that isn't what I'm ringing up about.
Well, John,
It's
hang on.
Yes.
They've had no chance to do it to do anything about it because it's 3 years since the referendum, and in the general election, they voted for parties promising to honour Brexit. So the frustration, John, it isn't that people don't want to do anything; they've just not had the means to.
Now, I'm not only annoyed with that, I'm annoyed with the Queen as well.
Right.
I'm annoyed with everybody. Now, let me make my point now. Let me make my point.
Okay, do.
Theresa May hasn't done one single thing right in any job she has ever had.
True.
Every decision she's made is the wrong one, and she seemed to have some kind of blatant, I don't know. I am convinced that she is suffering from a severe mental disorder.
Well, that's pretty strong stuff,
I'm
John.
going to make a demand. The Queen has never had a demand in her life. But I'm telling you now, people in this country are so angry. If the Queen wants to avoid a massive civil insurrection in this country, she must haul Theresa May in and sack her for mental deficiency.
All right,
She is
John,
clearly...
you've made the point. John there has made his point. He is the angriest person we've yet had on this show, but I know people are angry. And the point about civil insurrection that he makes, well, I've said this before, I will say it again. I promise all of you out there, if we do finish up with extension, if we do finish up even facing another referendum, I will do my absolute best, along with colleagues and friends of mine, to make sure that you have peaceful, democratic vehicles through which you can express your disgust. And that, I think, is terribly, terribly important. The Queen, well, yes, ultimately, of course, she could face some tough choices, but I don't think we're quite there yet. Nigel, to be honest, with this PM, I would now not put anything past her. I've sent a letter today about the current situation. Peter, you'll wait a long time for a reply, I promise you. Nigel, surely a revocation of Article 50 would require the majority of Parliament, says Ollie in Basingstoke. It's a really interesting question, Ollie, but actually, when it comes to signing treaties, and as the European Court of Justice said, a government can revoke Article 50. That judgment came out a few months ago. Actually, under the royal prerogative, Ollie, she could probably just do it. Any constitutional experts think I'm wrong? 03456060973. Paul is a first-time caller from Stoke-on-Trent, which they call Remain Central, Paul. Sorry, Leave Central. I got that wrong. Sorry.
I want her to revoke it.
You do?
I've had enough. We've all had enough now. This is your fantasy, Nigel, and we've lived it too long. It is a nightmare. Just stop it, because how bad was life before this nonsense started? It really wasn't. And just one other point, okay? MEPs, please vote in decent MEPs, people that we can communicate with and try to make this a better world, not the idiots that we've got now.
Paul, a point for you about the fantasy land. Do you think 200 countries in the world that are independent countries that make their own laws, have their own courts, control their own borders, do you think they're in fantasy land?
No, because, Nigel, again, I think there's your fantasy. Because if you look at the world, they're all joining into blocks.
No, they're not, Paul. No, they're not, Paul.
Yes, they are, Nigel. Because, again, you can shout people down, but they really are. We around the world, you've got China, a big block, you've got America, you've got a big block, and you need Europe. You need that support. We are a very small country. But also, Nigel, people don't like this. We are a weak country. 1 week without KFC, and we are falling apart. Again, we are not your fantasy. We are not.
Paul, you've got this completely wrong.
No,
You have got this completely wrong. In 1945, the world was in blocks. I would agree with that. There were about 55 countries in the world. There are now about 230 countries in the world, and every single year that goes by, more countries get created. All over the world, actually, blocks, artificial states are breaking down on the principle of national self-determination into smaller countries. I promise you, Paul. Paul, I've got to move because a Cabinet Office spokesman has just said it remains the government's intention to leave the EU with a deal and pass the necessary legislation before the 22nd of May, so we do not need to participate in the European parliamentary elections. As a responsible government today, we have taken the necessary steps required by law that should we have to participate. The day of poll order provides returning officers with a date to hold potential European parliamentary elections, but it does not make these elections inevitable, as leaving the EU before the date of the election automatically removes our obligation to take part. Folks, we're having European elections, all right? We're having European elections. She'll go to the summit. She'll beg in Berlin first. She'll beg in Paris later on. She will then go and prostrate herself in front of 27 other European leaders, and of course, the big boys like Barnier and Tusk, and then on Thursday, and Juncker, and then on Thursday, the legislation will be moved, and the nominations for candidates will open this Friday. I think that's pretty certain. Now, what she's saying is, and this is really classic Theresa May, in a sense, we'll start the European election campaign, but if you agree to my treaty in the intervening period, we won't actually hold the poll on the day. I mean, you couldn't invent. And this is supposed to, is this leadership? This is no wonder we're the world's laughingstock. This is the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15, and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
Downing Street says there'll be more talks on trying to find a way forward on Brexit between the government and Labour's negotiating team this evening. Tomorrow, Theresa May will meet the French and German leaders ahead of an emergency EU summit on Wednesday, where she's hoping to get another Brexit extension agreed. 4 people, including a teenager, have been hurt after reports a ride malfunctioned on Brighton Pier. LBC weather, showers across the West, Midlands and South East through tonight, drier elsewhere, a low of 2 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and there's a 15-mile queue on the clockwise M25 from before junction 25 for the A10 through to an earlier accident after the M11 at junction 27. The good news is all lanes have reopened. It has left long queues on the northbound M11 too, though, from the M25 up to Harlow at junction 7. The A13 is crawling out of town from the Canning Town flyover to the Lodge Avenue flyover, where a car broke down earlier. That's also causing delays southbound on the North Circular from Redbridge. The A13's then queuing out of town from Tilbury to an accident closing a lane at Alsett, and Main Road in Gidea Park is shut from Gallows Corner to Upper Brentwood Road with an investigation.
Brexit. Follow it live on LBC.
My new Vauxhall Grandland X. An SUV that's grand in style, grand in space, grand in comfort, and grand on the latest technology. And if that wasn't enough, it also comes with a pretty grand finance package too. 0% finance and no deposit. To find out more about their large SUV, search Grandland X offers. Vauxhall Grandland X. Keeps calm, carries on. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Conditional sales subject to status, T's and C's apply. 18 plus Vauxhall Finance.
This is LBC.
Helen's homecoming lamb.
It's a lot quieter around here since the boys went off to college. Sunday roast was always the highlight. All the family around the table for my roast leg of lamb with salsa verde crust. I'm doing it again today. It's their favourite, and hang on a minute.
Hi, Mum. We brought a couple of pals back. Is that all right?
Yeah. It's good to have them back for a couple of weeks.
Make your own homecoming roast with our tender, tasty grass-fed lamb. Food Love Stories, brought to you by Tesco.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say it to you, but maybe not Mum and Dad. I don't think they would be able to do that.
Really? I think Mum will help us. I spoke to her about it before.
Really? What did she say?
I just think she will help us if she can at the time.
If she can, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Getting onto the property ladder seems like a million miles away.
It isn't easy talking to your family about money, but it is important. The M word from Lloyds Bank. It's good to talk about money.
On Little Spring Spotters today, we're looking at nature at its very sweetest.
That's Celebrations Easter Mix, just £2.99. Thornton's Harry Hopalot Chocolate Bunny for £3.99. And Cadbury's mini eggs are only 99p.
Did I say sweetest? I meant chocolatiest.
Lidl. Big on quality, little on price.
Subject to availability. Selected stores excludes NI.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag #FarageOnLBC.
Well, Mrs May's sofa chat to the nation last night included this little gem.
The choice that lies ahead of us is either leaving the European Union with a deal or not leaving at all.
I thought, what is this? Is this blackmail? Is she preparing? Is she preparing if she's humiliated at the summit on Wednesday night to revoke Article 50? And David says to me here, if she revokes Article 50, she revokes democracy. And I agree with all of that. However, it's now pretty clear that statement she made to the nation was garbage. Complete and utter garbage, because the Cabinet Office have confirmed in the last few minutes that the procedure for getting ready for a European election has been put in train. So you can now pretty much guarantee that there is going to be an extension. And I've been predicting that since last August. Wish I'd been wrong, I have to say. And I'll make you another prediction. The idea that if between now and May the 23rd, the UK Parliament ratifies the treaty that it rejected 3 times, but together with the political declaration, which would be changed to sign us up to, definitely, EU rules on employment, the environment, the customs union, would the European Union agree to changing the political declaration? Yes, because it has no legal force. Would Parliament pass it? Look, Jacob Rees-Mogg voted on 3rd attempt for that treaty, believing that it was better to do that than nothing. There is no way Jacob Rees-Mogg would vote for a package committing us to being basically part of the customs union and the single market. So I'll make you another prediction. Once these elections are launched, they won't be able to stop them. And that's where it is. And our last caller was urging that you all vote for good MEPs, which isn't necessarily easy, as they're all on lists in regions. But more of that will be explained as the week goes by. Let's go to Eamon in Hastings, a first-time caller. Good evening, Eamon. So it looks like that statement she made was a load of nonsense, Eamon, and it looks like we're going to have an extension. How do you feel about that?
Are you surprised it's loads of nonsense?
Well, I'm surprised at just how wrong it was.
Well, I just think ever since she started this whole process, if this was a storyline on the Archers, nobody would believe it.
Oh, that's absolutely. The writer would be asked to take a rest, wouldn't he?
Exactly. It'd be like, we need to close this programme down because everyone's actually laughing at every storyline that comes out. I've got a couple of questions, actually. There's one. First of all, Jacob Rees-Mogg I really admire the guy, but when he started to say he's going to agree with the treaty, not the agreement, of course, not this treaty, I can't understand why nobody has ever said, OK, for the public benefit, why don't we have Theresa May on one side of the couch and Jacob Rees-Mogg on the other and an independent person in the middle, making them say exactly what they're talking about? Because one person says we're leaving the European Union and the other person says we're not. Now, either one side is completely stupid or both sides are stupid, or we've both been had by both of them. Why has that never occurred to anybody? Why don't they have those two people say, listen, I can sort this out in 10 minutes with you two on the BBC tonight at 10 o'clock, and you can explain exactly whether we're leaving or whether we're not.
I'd be all in favour of that. I mean, the closest thing I ever came to that was with LBC. 5 years ago, when Nick Ferrari hosted a debate between Nick Clegg and myself, and Nick asked those questions. And I think, actually, it was quite a success in many ways. So, yeah. I know, I'd all be for that. But as you say, isn't it bizarre? The Prime Minister says we're leaving, but we're not really leaving. And Jacob wants to leave, but we're not. But actually, this is Brexit in name only. It is a strange world.
Jacob says we're going to be in a vassal state if we accept this deal. But why would he vote for it last week? I don't understand.
Well,
I'm quite an intelligent person.
Well, to be fair, he has for the last 2 Fridays been on LBC between 6 and 7, and lots of people like you, Eamon, have been phoning him up and asking him that. His answer was, his answer was that he feared if we didn't accept what was on the table, there'd be a long extension, and he feared that might mean no Brexit, which is the line that May had been pushing. Actually, I would now much rather have an extension than accept this treaty. I believe the Prime Minister would be gone very, very quickly, and it is a chance for two things to happen. One, to get a Prime Minister who goes to Brussels and says, right, we're not having this, we're pressing the reset button, we'll have a simple free trade deal with you in the next 9 months, or we are leaving. And secondly, and maybe this is a good thing, maybe it's not, and I'll be pleased to take comments on this, at least for the first time in years, the British public get a chance to have their say on May the 23rd.
Oh, they definitely will. There's going to be a revolution, a political revolution, basically. Well, I've been watching your show and listening to as many YouTube videos and discussions on television as much as I possibly can. It's so it's not really confusing. It's just the word you like to use, duplicitous, from so many people.
Yeah.
There's so many duplicitous people out there that say one thing. Theresa May sitting on the couch and saying, we may have to leave without a deal.
I know. And there she was the other week with that press statement. Again, she was talking to the public from Downing Street. And when she said, I'm on your side, and I could hear millions shouting back, no, you're not.
Yeah, but don't you? I'm sure you know as well as I do, Nigel. There's people that sit her down in some dark office somewhere in Westminster and say, Theresa, it's not really working. What you've got to do is look in here and pretend you're really honest and really sort of like look charming and make your hair look nice.
And sound so sincere.
You're all stupid.
So sincere.
And if you don't vote for this, we're going to leave. We're not going to leave the European Union. And she's literally coached in the way she looks, what she says, and she really doesn't think that people actually listen to your program. They don't have it. Have they ever listened to your program? The people that ring up and say, "I'm sick. I'm never going to vote Conservative again." Have they ever listened to that? And actually, I happen to
know that the Downing Street press office does follow it. Eamon, great to have you on. Thank you. And following on from the point Eamon raised, Roger on Facebook says, as Moggy says, he is a true Conservative loyal to his leader, and that's the second reason that Jacob, third time round, voted for that treaty, is because he's fearful that the Conservative Party could split over this issue. Now, I personally think the Conservative Party are the obstacle and the problem and not the solution, but Jacob does take a different view to me on that. John says 100 years from now, history students just aren't going to believe all this, and I think you're probably wrong. Chris says, I am livid with the way politicians are behaving, and I will never trust another word any of these people say ever again, with, I think that's 5 exclamation marks. Let's go to Bacton up on the Suffolk coast and speak to Paul. Paul, good evening. You're a first-time caller. Welcome.
Good evening, Nigel. First time to speak to you, yes.
Well done. Can you understand this Prime Minister, Paul?
Not at all. I'm absolutely, totally frustrated, and she really wouldn't want to have a piece of my mind. But anyway, I was behind you from day one.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably one of the first on the polling stations in the morning to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wait. I've always said, I'm 56 now, 54 now. I can't remember a time when I actually said that I was a European. I've always said I'm not European. I've got nothing to do with Europe. I've got no ties with Europe. I used to be a coach driver, and yes, I've been to Europe, and I've travelled around there. I love lots of places in Europe, but besides that, the best thing she can do now is totally revoke Article 50. The reason being, Europe has now made such a laughingstock of the UK. All the other countries around the world are all looking at us, and they're all rubbing their hands, and they're going to start thinking, well, if Europe can pull the strings of the UK so easily and make such a mess of the UK, if they do get out and they come to us for a trade deal, we can squash them right down and give them virtually nothing.
But Paul, if we revoke Article 50, we've just surrendered, haven't we?
We have, but you know what, Nigel? I really think right now it's probably our best option. I still want out. I will never change my mind.
But Paul, if you want out, why on earth would you want Article 50 revoked?
Because we are now such a laughing stock in the world. It's not just Europe that are laughing at us. It's the whole world.
I get that. Well, Paul, I disagree. I understand your upset and frustration, but I disagree with your solution. I actually think, Paul, that a 1-year extension, even what 80-month extension, whatever it is, actually gives us a chance. And OK, we've wasted 3 years of our life. And OK, I buy your point. We've been humiliated on the world stage. But I actually think, Paul, that gives us a chance to get a proper Prime Minister who believes in Brexit, and we can press the reset button, Paul, and do it all again and do it properly.
Yes, there is that. And yes, I agree with you on that. I don't know. I just think at the moment it's just too far gone.
All right. No, Paul, thank you. You've made your point. Very interesting. Depressing in some ways. But, hey, that's what this woman's done to lots of people. Tim is calling from Southend. Good evening, Tim.
Hi, Nigel. Nice to speak to you again. I've got a question for you, actually, about the European elections. So I think Theresa May is going to do everything she can just to hang on as long as possible and hang the consequences and hang the Conservative Party. She just doesn't care. So I think she's going to go for a long extension. But I also think that, my understanding is anyway, that it's not in the EU's interest for the UK to stand up people for MEPs in European elections, and Theresa May definitely doesn't want that.
Well,
huge embarrassment. So could they agree, if the EU agree to the extension, they say, Mrs May, yeah, we give you extension, but we're not going to allow you to stand people for your elections.
Okay, well,
that's the question.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And Lord Adonis, forever trying to do down democracy, suggested that we don't have elections, we just have appointees. Tim, here's the answer. It's in the European treaties that people who are member states of the Union can test those elections, and Mr Juncker and others have been perfectly clear about this. It's unavoidable. You're quite right about one thing. The EU don't particularly want me to go back there. They're very worried about growing populism as they see it right across Europe anyway. But on balance, a large number of difficult, obstreperous perhaps, Eurosceptic Brits is a problem. But what they really want is for Britain not to leave the European Union, so they'll ask for an extension and try and force us into a second referendum. That is, Tim, what they'll try and do. Thank you. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:30 in time for the news. We're Lisa Aziz.
Downing Street and Labour say technical talks on Brexit will restart this evening after phone calls and emails continued between negotiating teams over the weekend. Number 10's insisting Theresa May is treating the cross-party discussions with urgency. The Prime Minister is expected to meet Chancellor Merkel and President Macron in Berlin and Paris tomorrow ahead of an emergency EU summit in Brussels, which could approve a further extension past this Friday. A 43-year-old woman has been found guilty of stabbing her husband to death with a kitchen knife as her son was playing computer games upstairs at their home. Natasha Welsh attacked Martin at the property in Hendon in northwest London last October. A man's facing jail after he admitted planning to bomb Britain's largest mosque in South London. It's believed the 41-year-old was trying to target Morden Mosque before his home was raided last October. LBC weather, showers becoming more widespread across Wales, the Midlands and South East England through tonight. Drier elsewhere, a low of 2 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Drivers of older, more polluting cars will face paying an additional £12.50 fee to enter the centre of London through ULEZ as of today.
Heidi Alexander, who's Deputy Mayor for Transport and Deputy Chair of TfL. If it was that bad, ban all the vehicles. Don't worry about the money. Just say they can't come in.
We anticipate that with the introduction of the Central London ULEZ, we will see a reduction of 45% on road emissions. And I think you would expect us to take that sort of approach.
But Heidi, that still keeps 55% of it. If you feel that strongly, a lorry shouldn't be allowed to come in by paying £100.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero, get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
Protecting your business from cybercrime is a growing priority, yet understanding how to stay ahead of potential threats is challenging. Whether you're a startup or an established business, BT is here to help. With a wide range of security-embedded products and services built especially for businesses. Find out more and enter to win a Pixel 3 smartphone plus a Google Home Hub at lbc.co.uk. BT, helping business relationships stay on track.
So, your accountant does your audit for you, looks at your accounts, calculates your tax, stuff like that. But would you benefit from long-term advice, an expert to look at your business model and help your business grow? And most importantly, someone to look after you, the owner. At Barnes Rofe, our partners get to know their clients and want to become part of their team. Is it time to see what we can do for you? Arrange your free consultation at barnesrofe.com. Barnes Rofe, clever accountants for business.
A lot of Londoners aren't happy about the ultra-low emission zone. We talked to some of them.
£12.50 is an absolute liberty. Are they taking the...
Renault Zoe.
It's a joke, mate. Trying to charge people extra money for driving in the city, but...
Renault Zoe.
Mate, it's ridiculous. It's just an absolute...
Renault Zoe.
It really is.
Keep it clean with the all-electric Renault Zoe. 0 tailpipe emissions, 0 ULEZ charge. Search Renault Zoe.
If you're an EU citizen living in the UK, you will need to apply to the EU Settlement Scheme. The scheme is fully open and you have plenty of time to apply. It is free and all you need is your passport or ID card and to complete an online form. Support is available if you have any questions. To find out more and to apply, visit gov.uk/EU Settlement Scheme. Irish citizens or those with valid indefinite leave don't need to apply.
I may be in my 80s and living alone, but I don't want to live with an emergency button around my neck. So my stepdaughter suggested installing Hive Link. I don't even notice it's there. It'll send a notification to her phone if it looks like I'm not following my usual routine. So we both feel reassured.
The new Hive Link uses smart plugs and sensors to subtly learn your daily routine, notifying your loved ones if something's out of the ordinary. Connect with care. Search Hive Link to discover more. Requires broadband, terms apply.
It took two brothers.
And me, a designer.
A software engineer.
A manufacturing leader.
A digital content creator.
A product packer.
And me, Ben, the relationship manager from Lloyds Bank, to bring the tech industry and sustainable fashion together.
Because by working together with the business, he helped provide the finance needed for T-Mill to make sustainable clothing more accessible. Lloyds Bank, by the side of business.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Well, the European institutions are worried about these European elections. That's even before the British dimension, because today, at a press conference in Milan, the Italian Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini announced a new European nationalist grouping that would get together after these European elections. And one of the big ones is the AfD from Germany. Their chairman, Jörg Meuthen, said that at least 10 parties would take part. We want to reform the European Union and the European Parliament without destroying them, he said. We want to bring radical change. And the worry out there is that these new big groups, these new big Eurosceptic groups, could fundamentally alter the balance. That's without the Brits. And I've got some more news for you on that. Official. The Conservative Party has opened applications to stand in the European elections 2019. The email to candidates begins. Due to the current situation, we will be contesting the European elections on the 23rd of May 2019, and the closing date for nominations is the 24th of April. The invitation ends with, nevertheless, we might find we do not need to proceed with these elections. And that's the rot, of course, that the Prime Minister was talking earlier. So it is going to happen. And I have to say, this is better than accepting her treaty, particularly accepting her treaty with all these Corbyn bolt-ons. And I was getting worried. Was she lining us up to maybe revoke Article 50? It's clear that's not the case. Tamsin says, no way do we revoke. Let's get a year's extension and get a Brexiteer in the hot seat. Tamsin, that's exactly what I think too. Erwin from Bristol's worried. He says, I've been saying this for months now. There'll be a second referendum and the choice will be take my deal or remain. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's where we're headed. Erwin, they cannot hold a second referendum offering us no genuine leave choice. Surely they can't do it. It would be one outrage too far. Gareth is a first-time caller from Leeds. Good evening, Gareth.
Yeah, Nigel. It's not Leeds, it's Lee. Near Wigan. Lee.
Is it? Well, somebody here can't spell, but never mind. Welcome, Gareth, to the show. So it looks now like, when the Conservative Party sends an email to their candidates list saying we will be contesting the European elections. Is it even credible now for Mrs May to stay in her job?
Well, no, it never has been. I've got a feeling that maybe she went over there 3 years ago and said, don't worry, guys, I'll keep us in.
Come on. She can't be that bad, Gareth, can she?
Oh, yes, yeah. But what I was going to say, Nigel, is I've got a sneaky feeling that we're coming out with no deal. I think both Labour and Tories know the game's up, and that's why they've been colluding this last week, just so that then, when we do come out with no deal, the Tories can say, well, Labour wouldn't budge on anything, and Labour can say the Tories wouldn't budge on anything, and then it's nobody's fault then. The two main parties...
I see. So basically she blames Corbyn for whatever outcome there is.
Yeah, and he can do the same with her. You know, he can say, well, we wanted to do it this way, but she wouldn't budge, so we crashed out.
Well, I'll tell you what, Gareth, I love your optimism, and if you're right, then I want to meet you this Friday night in London at 11 p.m, and I'll buy you a drink, all right?
Yep, definitely.
That is an absolute promise from me. In fact, I'll buy you more than one. Gareth, it isn't going to happen.
No, I hope so. You never know.
Well, but we could have left on the 29th of March. There was no barrier at all. The legislation was in place. Parliament had voted for it, but Mrs May put in legislation to further extend.
Yeah, but Nigel, I'm like a layman when it comes to politics. You know that. I mean, it's gone to the House of Lords. You know, with this the Cooper Amendment.
Yes.
Can the House of Lords, you know, are they like the grand wizards? Can they overturn all that, or does that?
Well, they could filibuster it out, but whether it's fully on the statute book, which I think it probably will be, but whether it's fully on the statute book or not, Gareth, this Prime Minister does not believe in Brexit. She'll never take us out on WTO, is my view.
Okay then.
Well, who knows, Gareth? Honestly, I hope so much you're right, but I fear you're not. Thank you very much. I voted Leave with all the other millions of people. Why are these so-called MPs, who are paid by us everyday people, telling us what we want? Brexit means Brexit. No deal. No more bribery. No more sitting eating cake with Corbyn. The people want out. The Ramonas have no right. Very angry, very frustrated Brexiteer and that's from Leon C, I think, that one. Do you know... that sense of anger that's out there is reflecting in the opinion polls, and you know the one area where Gareth may be sort of pushed into this direction is public opinion. He's probably speaking to loads of people who now want to leave with no deal who didn't a month ago. There's been a massive shift in the opinion polls, and still the other side are in denial, despite the fact we've had the YouGov polling in the Evening Standard at the end of last week. We've had the Comres polling. I've been reading it out on air to you. Other news organisations have also carried this stuff, and yet there still seems to be a sense of denial from the establishment and the Remainers. They can't believe, I guess, that the people of this country would be so stupid as to want to become independent. Hey, Deborah is a new caller from Suffolk. Hi, Deborah.
Oh, good evening, Nigel. I just would like to say thank you so much for everything you're doing for the people of England that want to get out of the EU. We really appreciate everything you're doing.
Well, that's kind of you. That's kind of you. Yeah. But Deborah, it's okay. You don't need me, because Mrs May, in her fireside chat with The Nation last night, she said that she's she's working on your behalf too, Deborah.
No, she's not. She's a complete liar. And, you know, she's a disgrace to the country. And I feel personally that she should be removed as a Prime Minister with immediate effect. And I think that someone that is a Brexiter, a true Brexiter, should be put in as MPM and do the job properly. And I'm praying and hoping that we will get out with no deal on Friday. And I just you know, I'm just so disillusioned. I live in Suffolk, which is a very Tory town. And, you know, and I think we voted, you know, to get out.
Well,
but anyway...
So Deborah, Deborah, let me tell you a quick thing about Suffolk that's really interesting. Every seat in Suffolk, you know, the Tories hold the seats in Suffolk, right?
Yes, they do.
Every single Suffolk Tory MP voted Remain, and every single Tory seat in Suffolk voted Leave. So your county sums up the problem in this country. You guys... Well,
that's why you didn't get the seats, you see. You know, I voted for you, and I ended up with a Conservative, you know, and but a lot of people in Suffolk do want to, you know, want to get out.
I know, that's right. And yet you've entrusted yourself to MPs, all of whom are Remainers. Suffolk is, in fact, one of the best illustrations in the whole country, Deborah, of the gap that exists between our rulers and ordinary folk.
And I can assure you that there's so many people in Suffolk that want to get out of the EU, and we do not want a treaty. We want a no deal, and that is the correct thing to do. And I have a faith, and I'm sickened by the fact that she goes into church every week and sits in church and then comes out and lies and does every underhanded tactic to not let us get out of the EU.
She's certainly, Deborah, she's been less than honest with all of us. Thank you. I wonder, some Remainers, come on, 0345 6060 973. Are you happy as Remainers that there's going to be an extension, that it now looks absolutely inevitable? Tim is a first-time caller from Brighton. Good evening, Tim.
Hi, Nigel. Nigel, I'd just like, if I can just come in on these meetings, these so-called meetings between Corbyn and Theresa May. I honestly do not believe Brexit is on the table at all.
Right.
I think Theresa May and Corbyn realise they're going to get absolutely annihilated at any general election or any referendum. And I'm beginning to feel they're sitting there together now, getting their heads together, saying, listen, how are we going to get out of this now? Because if this goes to a public vote or a general election with a Brexit party, you're talking of 20 million votes straight away for the Brexit party. I think this is self-preservation.
Well, I think that may be a little massively over-optimistic. But you think they're engaged on an act of self-preservation?
Oh, without a shadow of doubt. And with regards to being a bit optimistic, I mean, before the referendum, I mean, I took over £2,000 with regards to voting to be out. Yep. So I was with it all the way. I had a good sense of feeling on the street, and everyone I knew wanted out, and I just knew to be coming out. So when you say optimistic, I don't think so, Nigel. I think you're being a little bit pessimistic.
Okay, right. I'll accept that I'm a pessimist, Tim. I thank you. Nigel, I've also emailed the Prime Minister as well with no reply. The problem is is that Brexit will never happen until we get a majority in Parliament. So I guess it's back to the long game, says Steve from Gravesend. Mr. Despondent. No, he's not, actually. He's defiant. Not despondent, defiant. Steve, if anything's going to change, there's going to need to be a lot of defiance out there. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, here on LBC at 6:45, and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
Downing Street's confirmed there will be more talks on trying to find a way forward on Brexit between the government and Labour's negotiating team this evening. Tomorrow, Theresa May will meet the French and German leaders ahead of an emergency EU summit on Wednesday, where she's hoping to get another Brexit extension agreed. 3 teenagers have been taken to hospital after being stabbed within minutes of each other in northeast London this afternoon. LBC weather: showers across the west, Midlands and southeast through tonight, drier elsewhere, a low of 2 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm J. Louise Knight, and the clockwise M25 still struggling from junction 25 to junction 27. That's the A10 to the M11 after an accident earlier. If you're heading out of town on the M4, there's an accident just after junction 89 at Maidenhead. One lane's closed with queues. In Gidea Park, an investigation has closed Main Road from Gallows Corner to Upper Brentwood Road. And ahead of the football tonight in Chelsea, Fulham Road is now shut both ways from Fulham Broadway to Gunter Grove. Finally, on the trains, a train's broken down, so Thameslink are warning of possible delays from St Pancras to Blackfriars.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
The men in grey suits pay Theresa May a visit, Brussels in disarray over the extension of Article 50, and it's all go for the European elections. Another mad day in Brexit land.
Ian Dale on LBC.
Oh, I found one of our new Vauxhall Griffin editions.
Yes. What comes as standard?
Standard? Well, alloy wheels, sat-nav, aircon, DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone projection and USB connection.
Wow. Is that everything?
Sorry, forgot the colour touchscreen.
Buy a new Griffin edition, Adam, Astra, Corsa or Mocha X Plus and get a whole host of features as standard. The Griffin Edition range. All Griffin, no bull. Visit your nearest retailer now. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Participating retailers only. Limited units while stocks last.
Do you want to give your kids a head start? Think about it. Are you all set up to help with uni fees or a house deposit? No? Then it's time to Wealthify. The sooner you start a junior ISA with Wealthify, the more you can build them a tax-free nest egg. Just invest a lump sum or pay in monthly and let Wealthify do the rest. Start a junior ISA today. For more information, download the app or visit wealthify.com. With investing, capital is at risk and you could get back less than you put in.
Byron Avenue, please.
Up here?
No, down there.
Right.
No, it's left.
Towards Kendall Street?
Away from Kendall Street.
Right, we're here.
No, we're not.
When you choose a domain name, choose .com. It's trusted, recognised and reliable. You see, a business without .com is like a minicab firm without the sat-navs.
Here, look, Big Ben.
No, it's not.
Visit don'tbewithout.com to register yours now, because without .com, something's missing.
For hundreds of years, Indian food has been about sharing great food with the people you love. For over 5 years, Manjal Restaurant have brought North and South India together in the heart of London. And due to its success, now we've come to Chigwell Loughton. Experience the essence of India and make memories with Manjal. Book now at manjalrestaurant.com.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
Discover the multi-award-winning Peugeot SUV range. From the compact and stylish 2008, previously voted best small SUV, to the technologically advanced 3008, with over 60 awards. Or the ultra-flexible 7-seat 5008. What car's best large SUV for the 2nd year running? Order your award-winning Peugeot SUV by the end of June and indulge in a luxury overnight stay for 2 in a top UK hotel. T's and C's apply. Visit Peugeot.co.uk for details.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
On Mrs May's sofa chat to the nation last night, and here's something else that she said.
Now, there's lots of things on which I disagree with the Labour Party on policy issues. But on Brexit, I think there are some things we agree on.
I bet there are.
Ending free movement,
really?
ensuring we leave with a good deal, protecting jobs, protecting security. And so we're talking, can we find a way through this that ensures that we can get a good deal and a deal agreed through Parliament?
Protecting jobs and security, which is the argument they all made for the Remain side in the referendum. Stay part of it and all will be fine. And as for ending free movement, how many times has this woman, as Home Secretary and Prime Minister, told us that she was going to crack down on immigration, reduce the numbers, and in the last few years, end free movement? Are we any closer to it? No. And given that effectively what she's trying to cobble together with Corbyn would keep us part of a single market, the EU would never allow it anyway. She's just not telling us the truth. It's outrageous. How does she think she can get away with it? Well, maybe she can't anymore. Maybe you, the public, have sussed her. Scott's pretty upset. He says, as a veteran of 27 years in the army, I feel my service was for naught. I'm disgusted that self-absorbed MPs and the PM are exercising their agenda against the will of the people. Ed says, I voted Remain in 2016. May is making a mess of it all, Corbyn acting like a spoilt kid. Theresa May's my Brexit or no Brexit stance infuriates me. Your way, Nigel, would have been better than this mess, and I'm a Remainer. Well, Ed, Brexit was a fork in the road. Make a decision. Leave or stay. What this Prime Minister has tried to do is keep a bit of both, in an attempt, I think, to keep the parliamentary numbers on her side. An attempt, maybe, to keep her own party on her side. And an attempt to deceive the British public that she was taking us out of the European Union, when in reality she wasn't. Peter is a first-time caller from Bristol. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, Nigel.
Welcome.
Pleasure to speak to you.
Welcome. So, how do you see it, Peter?
Well, originally, because of what I was told, I was a Remoaner.
Yep.
Or should I say, I was a Remainer, not a Remoaner.
Now, Remoaners are since the result, not before, Peter.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
the will of the British people was 17.4 million to leave, opposed to 16 point whatever to remain.
0.1, yeah.
Being a democratic country, I will abide by the will of the people, and I have done since the poll was released at 17.4 million. So now, because of the will of the British people, I am a leaver. So I agree with the leave. Now, I love my country. Yes, I served my Queen and my country, and I would serve my country again any day.
Right.
However, the propaganda that we've been fed by the Ramonas, I can remember. I can just about. I'm 54, coming up for 55 years old. I can just remember.
You're catching me up, Peter.
Yeah, I can just remember before before we went into the EU, lorries on the roads had TIR plates on the back. They could go through customs. Their load would not be inspected until they got to their destination country. They carried paperwork, and it was a piece of cake. They handed their paper over at the customs borders wherever they passed, and it wasn't inspected, and they only paid the duty in the country they were delivering to.
Yeah, I mean, the argument, Peter, is the argument, Peter, now would be they wouldn't need to hand over a piece of paper at the border because they do it all online on their laptops or mobile phones.
Well, exactly. But if you are pulled over, like at Dover, at Felixstowe, at Calais, at
Southampton, wherever, yeah.
Wherever, whichever British port you go through, as a lorry driver, you have to hand over your shipment of lading because the shipping company needs to know what you're carrying.
Okay.
Now, if it's dangerous goods, they especially need to know. But the thing is, I now believe that we should come out without a deal. You have an email that I sent to Theresa May that I sent you earlier on today.
Yeah, and
in that email it states that if she decides that we have to have another referendum, it cannot say remain on that paperwork. It can only say leave with the EU deal, because it's not her deal. It's all that the EU have allowed her to get. It's either leave with the EU's deal or leave with no deal.
Well,
personally, no deal.
Yeah, if it has to be another referendum, you're quite right. That would be a fairer question than putting Remain in it. Peter, thank you for your passion. Thank you for your call. Daniel says, do you not realise voters can change their minds just like elections? A referendum can change too. Yes, Daniel. And right at the minute, it would appear that Leave is taking massive leads in many regions in this country. Callum is a first-time caller from Glasgow. Good evening, Callum.
Evening, Nigel. How are you doing?
I'm OK. So, how do you assess the Prime Minister's behaviour in the last 24 hours?
It's an absolute public embarrassment, I have to ask myself.
It is,
now, I'll be honest with you, up until this point, I've been an SNP voter, and primarily in the past couple of weeks, I turned my back on them as well. Everyone in Westminster is letting this country down. I was a Remain voter in the referendum, but as a state, you've got to respect the will of the people. However, I do believe that first referendum was sold on a portion of lies. No one knew at that point when the first referendum happened what Brexit would truly entail, what the EU would offer at the end, and what we're faced with is a much deeper future and darker future. Now, I'm a young man myself in my early 20s, and all I can foresee for the next 40 years is doom and gloom. Now, I've spoken to my father about this and asked what was life like before the European Union, because I don't remember it. And his exact words to me, pretty much the same, but with a lot less electricity. Now, if you ask me, the first referendum was sold on lies. Westminster has done absolutely nothing for the past 2 years to actually drive this thing forward, apart from become a public embarrassment. So I think every MP down in Westminster has failed this country, and what it truly needs is some sort of uprising of the people in their own political sort of party to take back control from the political establishment.
Well, Callum, I think you know,
nothing but ridicule this country.
I think the demand for political change is there. The first past the post system makes it very difficult to change things, but who knows? Maybe we are on the cusp of major change. History would suggest we're not, but what the SNP did in Scotland was show that things can change and change fast. Callum, thank you for your call. One or two of you here having a go. On Twitter, Dom says to me, why are you trying to subvert the sovereignty of this country's parliament? Sovereignty doesn't rest with Parliament. Sovereignty rests with the people of this country. They lend that authority to parliamentarians to exercise for that next term, normally these days 5 years of Parliament. The idea that Parliament is sovereign, the idea, Dom, that the MPs are the bosses and we're the servants is wrong. We're the masters and they're the servants, and that's what we need to get back to. We're a long way from it right now. You've been listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. I'm back tomorrow at 6. Tonight at 10, it's Tom Swarbrick, but up next, it's Ian Dale.
Have you had your shoes resold yet?
It's coming, isn't it?
It is definitely happening.
Yes.
Are you
afraid
excited?
So.